the third and final presidential debate has wrapped up. This time, the focus was on foreign policy. There were some noteworthy moments like this one. President Obama calling Mitt Romney out for deeming Russia our #1 geopolitical foe.
Governor Romney, I'm glad that you recognize that al-Qaeda is a threat, because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
Along with some notable one-liners discussed at length last night, the attack in Libya, the ongoing crisis in Syria, the Iranian threat, and U.S. ties to Israel. But now that the candidates had their final chance on the debate stage, some say there's a lot to be desired. So what are some critical issues the incumbent president and Romney didn't talk about? To weigh in, our very own RT producer, Adriana Lucero, and Abby Martin, host of Breaking the Set. Welcome, guys.
Hello, Liz.
All right, so we've heard 3 debates now. Adriana, did this one break any ground?
Do you want the long or short answer?
Whatever you want to give me. I'll take it.
Not really. Not really. It's rather interesting to see that there was a lot of talk. There were a lot of name checks on stage, a lot of, mentioning this or that, but not a lot of detail, or at least not a lot that hasn't been discussed ad nauseum beforehand. So very, very interesting.
All right. Speaking of what was mentioned, I know you compiled this list of the top mentioned issues, and then we're going to go into the least mentioned. Let's take a look now. Iran mentioned, that was a top one there, 47 times. Israel, 34 times. Pakistan and the economy both mentioned 25 times. Afghanistan, 21 times. Now, for the least mentioned, Latin America was mentioned 4 times. All but one by Romney. Drones was mentioned twice, but Obama did not mention it. We'll talk about that more later. Yemen was uttered once. Eurozone, not a mention. NDAA, no mention. Drug war, no mention. All right, so drones were mentioned for the first time last night in all 3 debates. So they have broken their silence, but was that enough, Abby?
No, of course not. I mean, when you have extensive drone warfare going on across the Muslim world, we're talking about putting drones in Mali. I mean, here's Romney saying, you know what? I agree with your drone king policy. Romney's right there in line with them. So why would they really elaborate on something that they so strongly agree with?
Well, I think that's a good thing, right? For the voter out there that thought, hey, maybe Mitt's going to be a little bit more moderate on this. Actually, no, we
didn't see moderate Mitt on that one.
No, not at all. I mean, I think if you're going to do, glasses half full on this one, you see like, well, okay, so they actually do agree. So there wouldn't really be that much of a change there. So
actually, we do have that clip. Let's take a listen to it.
I believe that we should use any and all means necessary to take out people who pose a threat to us and our friends around the world. And it's widely reported that drones are being used in drone strikes, and I support that entirely and feel the president was right to up the usage of that technology and believe that we should continue to use it to continue to go after the people who represent a threat to this nation.
All right, so there he is, Romney advocating the use of drones. As we had mentioned, President Obama did not even say the word once, so he basically dodged the question.
And masterfully so. Like, that was a very artful sort of dodge, for sure, It wasn't even, I mean, how can you answer a question about drones and not even utter the word once?
It was almost he just made a pivot.
That's how masterful all these propagandists are, though. I mean, when you look at the recent report that just came out of Pakistan, very extensive report saying that civilian casualties are extreme. All the rhetoric we hear about drones, they're strategic, pinpoint precision. Really, they have a 2% success rate, which is a 98% failure rate. When you're looking at all these top brass of al-Qaeda that they're taking out, how many countless innocent civilians are dying in the process?
And that's it. I mean, the drone program is which had expanded under President Obama, is a very controversial program. As you had mentioned, Abby, no mention of the civilian death toll, and also some of the other effects of this drone program. The fact that it is breeding anti-American sentiment, especially in Pakistan, where they are not fans of the U.S. and the implications of that on our foreign policy. And this is a foreign policy, or it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Debate.
I mean, I wouldn't call them propagandists only because that's giving them way too much, credence, to be honest. Like, these are politicians, and you can see how hard they are working
for in order to get
Do they not peddle
propaganda?
I would think that, I mean, one man's propaganda is just like
Abby's using the word. Adriana doesn't quite want to go there.
I'm pivoting. Okay. No, but I really do believe, like, interesting the fact that the economy had the same amount of mentions as Pakistan. I mean, that's very telling of how we are actually dealing with foreign policy right now. It's not even important. I mean, that's essentially what they're signaling to us right now. And I mean, that couldn't be farther from the truth.
I wanted to point out something that wasn't mentioned at all. You know, Israel is mentioned how many times? 34 times.
Many times.
You would think that when you're talking about Israel, talking about human rights, spreading democracy abroad, you think that you'd mention that little plot of land that the Israeli military is phasing out. Palestine, that wasn't really mentioned at all during the debate. At all. Not a single word.
That's on our list, but yeah, you're right.
True. And another thing, a couple other things not mentioned. We should touch upon, like NDAA. Nothing. Latin America, only 4 mentions, and that was all MIT. All answer your question saying, oh, we need to increase trade. That's it.
But really, whose fault is it? Isn't it the moderator's fault to not ask the question about something like, you know, there's a law to indefinitely detain American citizens on U.S. soil? What do you guys? I mean, how can you explain that? You know what I mean? I mean, so of course they're not going to bring it up. They both agree with it. Romney said that he would vote for it. So it really, you look at the moderator and you're like, whose fault really is it to not ask these hard questions?
Right, and you know, for all of us that tweet now, live tweet while we're watching the debate, it was interesting. If you notice, the hashtag #StopNDAA was trending on Twitter last night during the debate. So, I mean, it sounds like people are interested in it. People do want to hear it. It's not like this fringe group of people that aren't concerned about it. So
it was a coordinated campaign from the Sparrow Project along with other activists to try to get it on the radar, because we knew very well that they weren't going to talk about this issue. We knew that the debates weren't going to mention this at all. So we at least wanted to put it out on Twitter to get people who were paying attention to the debates to see that this is a very important issue.
All right, guys, do want to move on now. Let's take a listen to what was said last night on the issue of China.
With respect to China, China's both an adversary but also a potential partner in the international community if it's following the rules. So my attitude coming into office was that we are going to insist that China plays by the same rules as everybody else.
We can be a partner with China. We don't have to be an adversary in any way, shape, or form. We can work with them. We can collaborate with them if they're willing to be responsible.
All right, so I mean, it seems like neither candidate can decide whether China is our friend or our foe.
I mean, that's not what Mitt Romney was saying during the primaries. I mean, there was much tougher talk on China than what he proposed during that debate. So that's just very,
when it comes to China, moderate Mitt came out last night.
Absolutely. There you go. Yep.
All right, guys. Well, you know what? So we talked about what isn't mentioned last night, but this is why viewers should tune in tonight.
That is true.
Absolutely.
Third-party debates on tonight. So likely you will see much of the things that weren't talked about this time around. You'll see them probably go into detail about it later on. So yeah, definitely need to check that out.
Abby, why do you think people should tune in tonight?
Because they'll see what hasn't been covered by the corporate-controlled media, the war defense contractors, you know, Monsanto-owned media establishment. Of course, we're going to see the issues that people really do care about. And we're going to tune in to the third-party debates because we can't exclude the other alternative voices to the establishment that does not represent the people anymore.
All right. And what about those that say, you know what, we saw the 3 debates. These are going to be, one of the winners is going to be President Obama or it's going to be Mitt Romney. So why even put energy toward these other candidates?
Because a wasted vote is voting for the 2 establishment figures. You're basically giving credence to their platform. I mean, the things that they propose, I do not support. So, I mean, to me, a wasted vote's voting for either of these people.
At the end of the day, your voice is your vote. So you use it as you may.
That's right. Oh. Adriana, wrapping it up there. Very nice, wrapping it up. Your voice is your vote. Thanks, guys. Looking forward to our coverage tonight. That was RT producer Adriana Ucero and Abby Martin, host of Breaking the Set.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks.
Well, RT America will be airing the debate live tonight. Our coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern, with the debate itself kicking off at 9 p.m.